Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. Today's video is going to be all about my journey with the Akashic Records. Really just how I found the Akashic Records, what my journey's been like to become a reader for myself and for others, and to really just talk about some of my struggles with it. And I think I've talked about it in some other videos, but I kind of wanted to condense it all in one video and explain it all in my own kind of words and experience. So let's get right into it. So as some of you may know or may not know, I'm an Akashic Records reader, so I not only read my own Akashic Records, but I do readings for other people, and it is my passion, it is my purpose, it is something that is a big part of my life, and it's something that I can't imagine my life without right now, but it wasn't always like that. So let's just start from the beginning. So how I found the Akashic Records, because I think that's going to be the important part here. My mom was always very spiritual. She always talked about spiritual things. She was into all these different spiritual modalities. And I think she had mentioned the Akashic Records once, and then someone mentioned that they knew an Akashic Records reader in Uruguay, and I was like, oh, and I remember giving her the contact, and I think my sister was the first one to go, then my mom, and then I went, and I got hooked. Like, I've always felt very disconnected from myself. I always felt like I didn't understand myself and what was going on, and what I felt, what I didn't feel, and where I was going. I always felt very lost. Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? And there were all these kind of ideas I had in my head, but they weren't really, nothing was like panning out, and I was studying a lot of things, but I felt really stuck. So I remember going to that first reading and feeling, wow, like so connected to myself and to the information, and left, I remember that reading feeling so at peace that I don't remember ever having felt that way before. Maybe like a few times, but not in that same exact way that I felt leaving the reading. It felt, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I felt connected to myself. And you know, I wasn't into meditation. I wasn't into doing any of those spiritual practices. So yeah, it was like a huge therapy session in one. It felt like it was what I had to do for myself. So I would get readings like every 6 months, and it kind of kept me feeling like in balance, and it kept me feeling like focused on my things. And then I think that in turn got me into acupuncture, got me into osteopathy, flowers, and homeopathy. So homeopathy, I think, was there before because I had already tried it a bunch of times for a few issues of like anxiety and panic attacks and all that. So ultimately, it was people in my environment that introduced me to the Akashic Records. And we're talking, yeah, I was probably like 26 or 25, something like that, I think, around that age. That was a long time ago. That was over like, yeah, it was definitely over 10 years ago, that's for sure. And it felt a little scary. I remember when I first went to a reading, and I was like, what are they going to tell me? Are they going to tell me I'm doing something wrong, or that I'm completely lost in life? And then quickly figured out that it did not work that way, and that actually it was there all for my higher good, and that I was going to understand myself better. And it did. It slowly helped me understand myself, and it kind of just gave me that support that I really needed at that time. From there, I remember going to a bunch of readings with the same reader. I generally gravitated towards the same reader. I felt very connected to her and how she channeled and the information she provided for me. And just the support she gave me, it just felt like she was kind of like my sister. I remember going to her probably like a year and a half or 2 years. I don't recall exactly the time frame, but I remember going one day, and it came up in a reading. She's like, you know, this might be a good time for you to learn to read your own Akashic Records and to start to connect to yourself more. And I remember thinking, me? Like, how am I going to do that? Like, you have this amazing gift to channel for people. How am I going to do that? That makes no sense. I remember like going back and forth with it and not really understanding it very well. And until I remember my sister did it, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it? Like, I'm not going to lose anything. It's probably just, it was like a weekend. It was like a Saturday and a Sunday. And it was at this reader's house with a few other students. It was beautiful. I remember going there and her setting just like the nicest environment, and all feeling really comfortable with each other. It was really beautiful, but I really found myself struggling, because I remember the second day when we got to saying the verse and connecting, and then us having our little journals and our pens and starting to ask questions. I remember she had music on, and we had a few questions we had to answer. And I remember like the one was like, what do you channel with the music that's playing? And then I remember there's something else, and I was like not connecting to that. And to me, I think the disconnect was that I kept expecting it to look like how when she was channeling for me. And I realized that it was not that way at all. And that took me years really to realize that. And I got really stuck. I practiced. I connected. I would use it at work. I would use it for this. I would use it for that. And I was like, maybe this isn't for me. This isn't my thing. Like, I would use it to journal and to connect to myself. Like, it would help ground my energy. So ultimately, I didn't really use it for channeling. At a certain point, I just gave up, and I just used it for like feeling more calm, feeling more centered and more grounded in my energy. And it was good. It still served its purpose. I don't think I was really ready at that time to have that connection, because first of all, a lot of this self-love journey that I speak about, and I've mentioned it in a few videos, and I also mentioned it on our podcast, the Soul Tribe podcast, this self-love journey not only held me back from connecting to the Akashic Records, but from so many things in my life. And I think seeing it reflected with the Akashic Records really made me realize, it took time, right? But it made me realize, wow, it's not just the Akashic Records. There's a lot of other things in my life that aren't going the way I want them and need them to go, because I'm holding myself back and I'm not loving and accepting myself at all. It was like this constant battle inside of me. So I do link the self-love and the spiritual side together a lot. I think they have played kind of big roles in my life and kind of healing all of this negativity and this lack of self-love and self-acceptance, and then realizing that when all of that was in place, that wow, now I can connect. Now I have this spiritual connection with myself that I can use, and that ultimately has become a job for me. And I don't like to say job because it doesn't feel like a job. Yeah, it's my work, it's my purpose, it's my passion, it's what I do and what I feel connected to, what I feel most aligned with in my life at this point. And I can't imagine having given up. And what if I had given up and never tried it again? What if I'd never gotten that message to start it? Like, it just makes me, I get a little bit emotional, to be honest. So kind of following that timeline, I got the readings. I would go every like 6 months. It was kind of like clockwork. I didn't put it in my calendar. It was just like, oh, I feel like I need another reading. And I'd look, I'd be like, oh, I got one 6 months ago. And from there to learning to read my own Akashic Records, then trying to use it, still getting readings from this reader, but also had a few other people that I found during that time as well. And then really just dropping off, like it just dropped off. I didn't use it anymore. I remember having the opening closing verse printed and laminated in my wallet, and it would just sit there and I wouldn't use it. And sometimes I'd look at it, I'd be like, oh, maybe I could connect. I just didn't feel called. I didn't feel connected with it. I was really struggling with my mental health. I was struggling with myself, with feeling stuck in life and feeling like I wasn't living in a place that I loved, and just trying to go here, go there. And really what I needed was to really sit with myself, center myself in what I was feeling and where there were, certain shadows and things that I needed to look at, instead of trying to run away from it, because I think that's what I ultimately was doing my entire life, just running away from things. So I wasn't using them. I wasn't connecting with the Akashic Records. I wasn't feeling even called in that direction. And many years passed. I want to say maybe like 10, 15 years. Maybe a little bit less, I'm not sure, but around that amount of time. And fast forward to me being in the Cayman Islands and working here, and also having gone through a bunch of stuff and feeling even more disconnected and even more not feeling like I was loving myself and that I was honoring myself and that I was taking care of myself. And I remember at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna start going to therapy. I was journaling quite a lot at that time in my life. So this was a few years ago. Yeah, I remember going to therapy. It was going sometimes once a week, sometimes every 2 weeks. And I was like, what am I going to do in between these sessions? Like, I felt like I needed somebody to talk to and somebody to work out all these things that I was feeling inside, and all of this guilt and all of this anger and all of this frustration I had inside of me with myself. And ultimately I just said, I'm going to start journaling, like focus my journaling on the things that I talk about in therapy, and just focus it on these journaling sessions that I would have. I'd wake up at like 5 a.m. I journal for an hour, and then I journal sometimes at night and connect with myself. I started meditating, which for me was always really hard to sit with myself. I started doing like guided meditations on YouTube, connecting with myself. And I think one day I was cleaning out my wallet, like my old wallet from Uruguay. I had like my driver's license, my ID, and I remember finding the verse, the opening and closing verse, and I was like, wow, I haven't opened my Akashic Records in a long time. I think I tried in between those 15 years, I tried once or twice and I was like, I'm not feeling it. I think I opened it not to connect, but to feel less nervous in certain situations and to feel more grounded in my energy. And I remember looking at the laminated verses and I was like, why am I not using this tool? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start using it. I'm going to start journaling with it. And I started opening my records and it felt like all of a sudden it was flowing. I was like asking questions and it felt more like automatic writing because it's not the way it is right now at this moment in my life. It was a little bit more like I was just able to connect with myself and be real and look at those shadows and answer those questions. I remember, just getting a hypnosis session with Becca. I'll put her details below. She's amazing. One day I wake up, I'm like, wow, I feel like I could just manifest anything. So I got into manifesting and I started just putting really a lot of intention into creating a life that I wanted. I think a few days after one of the sessions I had with her, because basically what you do is you do a hypnosis session with her and then she records she has like a recording for you where she is affirming all of the things that you saw in that session. So I would put the recording on as I was going to sleep. So yeah, it was kind of like all of a sudden I felt this powerful. I felt empowered in myself and the decisions I was making and what I was doing and how I was doing them and all the work I'd put into like healing myself, which of course isn't finished. I still have work to do. Of course it's never ending. It's why we're here, right? To work on certain things and have certain struggles. But ultimately it was kind of like, I'm powerful. I can do anything. I can manifest. I can believe in myself. And I started journaling even more and really connecting with these feelings that were coming up of things I wanted to bring into my life. And then one day, because Lucia and I, this is before the podcast started, one day I remember in the morning I was messaging Lucia like an audio note and I was like, I had my Akashic Records open. I said, oh my God, I need to learn. And it was like a download. It was a knowing. It was like, and people that know me know I'm very indecisive. Like I will go back and forth with things. Like I'll overthink things. That's like a lot of my earth energy in my natal chart. And it was like this knowing. I was like, what? I got to learn to read the Akashic Records for other people. So I decided to get recertified on level 1 with a new teacher. And then we went on to level 2. So I did all of that within like a couple of months. It was such a different experience than before. It was incredible. It was literally like life-changing. And I think it was really connected to my self-love journey, because if any of you have learned the Akashic Records or any kind of spiritual practice, that's when a lot of your self-doubt kicks in. You start doubting yourself and your abilities and what you can do. But ultimately it's in your power to practice and hone in on that practice and to start making it a part of your life. So I started making opening my own a part of my life. And when I felt ready, I started doing my free readings so that I could start to actually work in this. It was like I started a new life. It was like I was a different person. It's like, why did it take me so long to get here? I mean, I'm not doubting that now. I know why. I understand everything had its time and its reason, and it had to happen how it had to happen, because I don't think I was ready for it before. It was a download that I got that said, you're ready. Not only to open your own, but to believe in yourself, to trust yourself, to love yourself, and to help others through that, because you've been through a lot and you understand a lot of this stuff now. It was so crazy. And then from there, I got another download. We need to start a podcast about the Akashic Records. So the podcast to me feels a lot connected to my journey with the records and starting that and how that connected to helping others and loving myself in that process and doing things that were really out of my comfort zone. And like even this, going on in front of a camera and talking to you guys wasn't something that I could do, even like 2 years ago, even maybe a year and a half ago. I didn't feel it. And now I feel like I need to speak up about things and talk about things that I'm passionate about and connect with people and help. But ultimately, if I didn't love myself, I wouldn't be here. And I think that's the main message with my journey. And I've done videos about why you're not connecting to your Akashic Records, why for some people it might be difficult. And it is a very individual journey, and that's why I don't like to generalize. But you need to discover that yourself and be really real with yourself and want to see every aspect of you. Where am I having trouble connecting in other aspects of my life? Like I was having trouble just connecting to myself and what I was feeling and understanding myself. So why would it be easy to connect to my Akashic Records? It probably wouldn't. So if you're really real with yourself, you're going to realize, oh, wow, maybe I'm not connecting because I'm not trusting myself and I don't know what I need. And if I don't trust myself, how can I trust the messages that I'm getting? It's just going to be really difficult. And I think a lot of us don't realize how hard we are on ourselves. And sometimes it's these expectations we have of how our life needs to look. And, oh, like, why would I be an Akashic Records reader? Or why would I be this spiritually connected person when my whole entire family doesn't even believe in all that, but I feel connected to it and I'm not allowing myself to get there. So there's preconceived notions, there's belief systems, there's so many things that can hold us back from connecting to certain things. I always like to kind of bring up my sister here because just comparing our journeys with the Akashic Records, they are completely different. And for somebody, maybe they just picked up a book, they read about the Akashic Records, like, wow, this sounds amazing, let me do it. And they connected right away. And it was very seamless and it was something that had to be easy for them. And that's okay too. Like, we all have our own experiences with it, and I think just honor that story that you have and honor whatever you're going through right now and realize that it doesn't have to end with that. Something else I think about is when I was packing all my things to come to Cayman, I remember sorting through tons of paperwork and I still had my manual from level 1, and something inside of me said, bring it. And I brought my verse, which I wasn't even using it. It was kind of like there, and I think the verse was with the manual and I found the manual. I think that's how it was. I don't think it was in my wallet. But why did I bring it? Something inside of me gave me that message to bring it. I hadn't looked at it since the course. It wasn't something I ever looked at. I think deep down inside I knew that it was part of my life and it was going to come back. And I hadn't fully given up on it. But what if I had fully given up on it? Like, where would I be now? I think I'd feel so lost. And I know this is 100% where I need to be, and I trust that. And the more I love myself, the more I trust my path, the more I trust things that come into my world. And it's like this beautiful balance that you find. And I guess, you know, there's nothing crazy about my story, and that's where I like to compare it, like with Lucia. This isn't crazy. This isn't something that, you know, I had like this wake-up call necessarily. It was a download, it was a message, I trusted it. If I wasn't in that energy of loving myself and trusting, I would have ignored that message. I would have just been like, yeah, whatever, and gone about my day. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, because I feel so fulfilled, so purposeful. This is my passion. This is what I love, and this is how I want to help, and this is how I want to like live my life, with this connection and helping people, and it's beautiful. And this doesn't mean you have to be a reader or connect to the Akashic Records. I just kind of wanted to share my story and understand that it's not all even, it's not all uphill. You know, it had its ups and downs. It had its moments of I believed in myself and I tried it and then I gave up, but then something inside of me, and I trusted that, told me it's going to come back into my life. I think that's how we need to live our life, just flow and allow things to come in and out as they need to. Believe in ourselves and trust that whatever we're going through right now isn't going to be forever. Things can change and we can change them. We can shift our energy. We can connect with new things. Especially on a spiritual path, I think there are lots of ups and downs, and it's not this linear path. It's not this path of complete balance and knowing what's going to happen. Like, no, that's not how life works. So if there are things that you're thinking about, things you're connecting with, and things that you believe that you deserve, work towards bringing those into your life. For me, the Akashic Records was part of that. I thank the universe, I thank my masters and my guides for not giving up on me and nudging me and telling me, you know, this is your path and you need to believe in yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much my story. I could go way deeper into a lot of things, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of how I found the Akashic Records and how it was a part of my life. I'll link some of the podcast episodes where I talk about this and where I talk about my journey of self-love, because I think those are really good information to also kind of understand my path a little bit more as well. So if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe, because I am working on a lot more content. And I'm going to be posting pretty regularly on here, especially this month. And this really supports my channel and it helps me just create more content and support you guys. If there's any topics that you guys want me to talk about, comment below and tell me what kind of videos, or if there's specific things about the Akashic Records. I'm definitely going to do one about flower essences and all that. But for the meantime, just comment below and let me know what you guys want, and I will be sure to create some content around that. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video.